Welcome to Broad Street Phanatics, episode number 23. And we are excited to have Locked On Bucs, James Yarcho, talking about last night's Buccaneers-Eagles game. And I'm excited to hear what your thoughts and opinions were on the game last night.
Yeah, it seemed like we were on our way to a blowout, right? The Bucs get up 28-7, and then all of a sudden the Eagles come crawling back, and Jalen Hurts does what Jalen Hurts does, and created some opportunities for the Eagles. They were helped out by a couple of penalties by the Bucs defense, but Hurts found his way into the end zone and got a 2-point conversion. And all of a sudden it was, one mistake by the Buccaneers offense. And we could have been talking about an Eagles victory. So I went into it expecting a pretty tight game. I thought the Eagles matched up really well against the Buccaneers, especially with all the injuries that the Bucs had on the defensive side of the ball, missing Carlton Davis and Sean Murphy-Bunting and Antoine Winfield Jr. in the secondary. Then they lose Richard Sherman in the first drive. But the matchup that I had kind of pinpointed was Zach Ertz going up against this defense because Levante David was out, and he's kind of that solid cover linebacker that can shut down tight ends. So I knew that was going to kind of be a mismatch heading into this one, and Ertz had himself quite a night. So it was a good game. It was an exciting game, and I'm glad the Buccaneers came away with a win, but Philadelphia is much better than their record would indicate, for sure.
Mm-hmm. So my next question is, what went through your mind when you saw Richard Sherman go down?
My thought was, oh no, not again. Because through 6 games this year, the Buccaneers have lost at least one starting player in every game. And most of them have been on the defensive side of the ball, right? With the kind of the outlier being Rob Gronkowski. You had Antonio Brown miss one game, but that was because of COVID-19, not because of an injury. But they've, I kind of rattled them off, with Carlton Davis being out for an undisclosed amount of time. Sean Murphy-Bunting with that dislocated elbow in week 1. He's been out ever since. They lost Jamel Dean for the Patriots game. Now they lose Richard Sherman. So their starting corners now are Jamel Dean, who's typically their third corner. And then you have D. Delaney, you have Pierre Desir, you have Ross Cockrell. D. Delaney and Pierre Desir were practice squad guys that had to be called up because of all these injuries. So it's frustrating to have them lose the guy that they brought in to kind of fill in for the players that were already injured. But the glass is half full kind of approach that I've been taking is these injuries are happening early in the year. So hopefully you start getting these guys back towards the latter part of the season, and then they're back for the end of the year. They're back for the potential playoff run and potentially another run at a Super Bowl. So I want to get through one game where the Buccaneers don't lose a guy to an injury.
Yeah. My question is, what were your thoughts on Nick Sirianni's game plan? Miles Sanders, who was very good, I thought last night when he had the chance to be. Why do you think Nick Sirianni decided to not hand off to Miles Sanders even more?
I think the main reason is the fact that the Buccaneers have the top rushing defense in the NFL. So you take a look at some of the running backs that they've gone up against. They held the New England Patriots to -2 rushing yards as a team. And over the past couple of weeks, you've seen that Miles Sanders hasn't really been a huge part of the game plan for whatever reason. I'm a huge Miles Sanders fan. I love that guy. But, he hasn't been a big part of the game plan for the Philadelphia offense. And this was not a good game script for Miles Sanders, just because as many injuries and as many problems as the Buccaneers pass defense has had, they're still the number 1 rushing defense. And I think late in the game, Miles Sanders showed that he could run the ball. I think that defense was getting a little bit tired. They'd been on the field quite a bit. Hurts had taken the Eagles up and down the field a couple of times already in that second half. But it's still, one of those situations where the best approach for the Eagles to be able to compete and potentially win that game was through the air, throwing to guys like, Zach Ertz and Jalen Reagor had a couple of targets, but of course I really enjoy watching the rookie Devontae Smith. You got, is it Quez Watkins? He's kind of a stud in the making. I've really enjoyed watching it. I didn't know much about him until this game was coming up, started hearing his name a little bit, started watching him a little bit. That guy's going to be a really, really good receiver. So the best attack for the Eagles to be able to try to pull off the upset was absolutely through the air. But I do want to see more of Miles Sanders as the season goes on, because I like Sanders as a running back. I think he's really, really effective when given the opportunity.
So my next question is, what is your thoughts on the NFL taunting rule?
It's terrible. It is absolutely terrible. You are asking guys who put their heart and soul into this game for 9-10 months of the year, where they're out there going 100% every single play. And when you're getting into a moment where it's crunch time and it's a 1-score game and there's 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter, for a player to have a big hit and a big stop and to get excited about that, there's nothing wrong with that. That's completely human. So the taunting rule is ridiculous. It needs to be abolished. These guys aren't robots. They are out there playing a game that they love for 60, 70,000 fans that are in the stadium, for thousands of people watching at home. When they do their job well, it's okay for them to be excited. It's okay for them to celebrate. There's nothing wrong with it. And the NFL continues to be the no fun league when they take away the ability for a player to be excited about something that he just accomplished and to be able to celebrate that a little bit. Yeah. The taunting rule is probably one of the worst rule in all of sports. I hate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has to change, and I think that it's part of the game of football, and I think that you just have to go with it. And even though it might be that situation that happens in the game, I think that like the refs need to learn how to just go with the flow and not get on their heads every single time that it happens.
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah.
My question is, what do you think stuck out to you from the Bucs last night?
Really, it's the continued emergence of Leonard Fournette. Last year, Ronald Jones was a running back that nearly rushed for 1,000 yards. He was their number one guy. He was their top running back. And the more games the Buccaneers have played this year, the more Leonard Fournette has established himself as the best running back to make this offense go. This is 3 games in a row now that he's had over 100 all-purpose yards. He gets in the end zone yet again. He's having an absolutely phenomenal year. I like Ronald Jones. I keep waiting for him to kind of turn it on and turn back into that running back that we saw in 2020, but it's just not happening. Whereas Leonard Fournette is looking like the guy that was a top first-round draft pick by the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's mowing guys over. He's making guys miss. He's elusive. He hits the holes with quickness and decisiveness. He's gaining positive yardage on just about every carry. When the Bucs need 3, he goes out there and he picks up 6. When it's a first down carry, he's getting 6 or 7 yards before he's even touched, or he's dragging a defender with him. So I'm really loving what I'm seeing out of Leonard Fournette. And I think that's really the biggest thing that stuck out to me was the fact that he's still continuing to do it and he's getting better week by week. Now both the Bucs and the Eagles have kind of this mini bye week where they're not going to play for another 9 days from now. So the Bucs can get a little bit healthy, but I want to see that Leonard Fournette that we saw against the Eagles and against the Dolphins the week before. I want to see that continue, and I want to see it get a little bit better when they face the Bears. So with the way that Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, when he comes back, OJ Howard was involved, Cameron Brate gets involved, but Leonard Fournette is the engine that really makes this offense go, because when he's running the way that he did against the Eagles, the opposing defenses have to respect that. They have to respect the play action. That's what's going to start setting up those big passes to Antonio Brown and to Chris Godwin and Mike Evans down the field. So I'm loving what I'm seeing out of Lenny.
So my next question is, give me 1 second. What stuck out to you during the post-game press conference for the Buccaneers?
I think it's kind of hard to say what stuck out, because a lot of these post-game pressers really anymore are pretty much the same. But really it's the fact that nobody seemed satisfied with the win. You know, the Buccaneers have been in, outside of kind of blowing out the Falcons late and then blowing out the Dolphins late. You know, those games were tight heading into the fourth quarter. Excuse me. Whereas the Eagles game was a little bit of the opposite, right? It was a blowout early. The Eagles came back. The New England Patriots game, that was a close one. The Cowboys game, that was a close one. So these guys aren't satisfied with the production that they're having so far. The offense knows that they can be better. They can be a high 30, low 40 points per game team. The defense knows that it can be better, and they can be holding teams to under 20 points week after week after week. So nobody, you know, they're glad to get the win, but nobody's satisfied. And Tom Brady made a point of saying that. You know, Leonard Fournette made a point of saying that. Bruce Arians made a point that they have not played their best football yet. And that's really true. We saw that in 2020, where they didn't play their best football game, their most complete football game, until the Super Bowl. So it's still a growing process. It's still a learning process. And week by week, you want to see them get a little bit better. And I enjoy the fact that there's no complacency, that they're still hungry to go out there, and they want to improve on the offensive performance. They want to improve on the defensive performance, because they know what they're capable of. They just haven't put it all together in a game yet this year.
So my next question is, who do you think will win the NFC East?
Ooh, I would say right now, Dallas looks like a really, really good team. Dan Quinn has done some phenomenal things with the defensive side of that ball, because the Cowboys were one of the worst defensive teams in football last year. And Dan Quinn has come in now and has really turned that defense around a lot faster than I thought he was going to be able to. That said, I really like the Eagles a lot. I do. They have so much talent. They have such a fun quarterback to watch, and they have some defensive playmakers on the other side. Yeah, Darius Slay is one of the best corners in football. Fletcher Cox is one of the most underrated players in football. And then if they can just get that passing game to be a little bit more cohesive, Jalen Reagor has leaps and bounds where he has so much talent, but it seems like he's not fulfilling that potential. Devontae Smith still getting acclimated to the NFL game. That's to be expected out of a rookie wide receiver. I've talked about Quez. I like him. Now, of course, they just traded Zach Ertz to Arizona, but they still have Dallas Goedert, who's another reliable target at the tight end position. So I think the Eagles are good enough that they can start to make a run. They can start to kind of turn some things around. But I would say right now, my bet would be on the Cowboys to end up winning that division.
Yeah, you just talked about it. We had to bring it up. What was going through your mind when you heard the news this morning about Zach Ertz getting traded?
Honestly, my immediate reaction was I really wish they would let him go ahead and play this Sunday too, because I started him on my fantasy team and I want more points. But I think it's a great move for both teams. I really do. And Eagles fans are going to forever love Zach Ertz for what he did while he was in Philadelphia. But they, like I said, they have Dallas Goedert there now, who's kind of taken that lead tight end role. He's a really solid receiving tight end. He's a decent blocker. And the Arizona Cardinals were in a situation where they needed that weapon at tight end. The Eagles were able to make that happen for him. And Zach Ertz, there's no getting around it. He's getting towards the end of his career now. He has a better opportunity to go out and compete for a championship in this season in 2021 with the Arizona Cardinals than he does with the Philadelphia Eagles. That's not to say that Philadelphia won't be a contender in the next 2 to 3 years, but Arizona's a contender right now. They're still the only undefeated team left in football. So I think it was a good move for both teams. It allows Goddard to really take hold of that number one position. He knows there's nobody looking over his shoulder anymore. He can go out there. He can just do his job. And I think his game's going to elevate even more. Zach Ertz now has the opportunity to kind of revitalize the end of his career and be a weapon for Kyler Murray out there in Arizona. So I'm sure Eagles fans are disappointed, but that's one of those things where he gave you guys so many great years of so much great football that you just kind of tip your hat. You wish him the best. And, you're thankful that he played for your team for so long.
My last question is, how do you think the Eagles will respond from the loss last night to Las Vegas?
I think they're going to be fine. They really are, because they found themselves in a situation now 2 weeks in a row where they were behind and they fought and they battled their way back. Now they won one game, they lost the other, but to be down 28-7 against the defending Super Bowl champions, Tom Brady having the highest completion percentage in a game that he's had since, I believe, 2018. It was the highest completion percentage he had in his career when throwing more than 40 passes. And to be able to fight their way back and come within one score and potentially be able to upset the Buccaneers, that says a lot about the character of that team. It says a lot about their belief in each other. It says a lot about the leadership on that team. The Eagles have such a solid young core of players, and Jalen Hurts is going to be a Pro Bowl quarterback. He's a phenomenal leader, and he's so young. So bright days are ahead for the Eagles. I think they bounce back next week. I think they beat the Raiders. I still think this team is one that's going to end up with a winning record, and they'll be in the wild card mix come the end of the year. Like I said, they're much better than their 2-4 record. This is a team that's probably going to, I don't know their schedule off the top of my head over the next couple of months, but this is a team that could rattle off 4 wins in their next 5 games or 5 wins in their next 7 games and really turn things around and put themselves in the thick of the playoff hunt. So I wouldn't worry too much about the loss on Thursday night. The Eagles are going to bounce back, and I think they're going to be able to take it to the Raiders next week.
I think I definitely agree with you, and I'm just excited to see how practice goes this week. Mm-hmm. And the week after this week, and see how they really like, it's kind of hard to put in words. It's just like how they accumulate the playbook to the game last night, and just really focus on Las Vegas and getting the win.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's all about adjustments. there were some great things that they could take away from Thursday night's game. And there are some things that they can say, look, we didn't do this well enough. We didn't do this well enough. We didn't do this well enough. This is how we're going to approach it now. Let's fix these issues and let's go out and let's kick Las Vegas's butt. So it's a really good team there in Philadelphia. And I think they're about to put together some wins.
Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for coming on. And we had a blast talking about the game last night.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. You guys have a great one, and good luck to your Eagles the rest of the way.
Thanks.
Thank you.